I'd like to tell you a story. When I was 24, I found myself living in a small beach town by the name of Naples, Florida. I was looking for something new. I was 24. I'm 29 now. And in that small coastal town, I was the only deaf resident. In fact, the closest deaf person was a few hours away by car. And all of the friends and acquaintances that I had made could hear. I didn't mind, though. I wanted something new. Lucky for me, Naples, Florida is home to some of the U.S. Olympics volleyball team, where they reside and train through the year. So I had a fantastic opportunity to play with them every day I could. And we'd hit the court all the time, either indoors or out at the beach. It was great. Lucky for them, I happen to be very good at volleyball. So one night, after a great game, a friend and I pull up some chairs by the water to watch the sun go down and chat. And he looks over at me and he asks me a question that completely blew me away. To be honest, in 24 years of my life, nobody had ever asked me. And his question was simple. Have you ever wished you could hear? I looked at him for a second and thought, where did that come from? Then I took a moment and I realized, while we had been sitting there, I could see the waves coming in and crashing on the beach. He could hear that. Obviously, I couldn't. My entire world is completely silent. To our left, people had taken over the court and were playing volleyball, cheering each other on. To our right, a mother was playing and laughing with her baby. And behind us, cars and ATVs had passed by all day without me even noticing. So I was quick to answer, no, of course not. I've never wished I could hear. I've never wished that because I love who I am. And you may be wondering, how do I love myself as a deaf man? Well, first, I was born deaf. My deafness shaped my childhood, and it's all I've ever known. So my perspective on life and my experience of the world is very different. My outlook and my life has involved experiences that many of you have never had to encounter as hearing people. My culture, something I embody and cherish, has always been deaf. My perspective on life is completely different. The experiences I've had, something I hold most dear, have taught me to love myself as a deaf man. To illustrate that point, if I were to walk into a job interview with a panel of hearing peers, and if I were to approach that meeting wishing that I could hear, wishing that I could speak like them, and focusing on that imbalance, do you think I would do very well? Obviously not, right? Because in the back of my mind, I'm focusing on the negative, therefore creating a negative outcome. And I'm certain I wouldn't get that job. But if instead I use my difference as an advantage and an asset, I know that as a deaf man, I have so much to offer their company. My experiences growing up are much different from theirs. And knowing that allows me to approach the interview positive. I can go into that meeting and confidently tell them how they will benefit from hiring a deaf man for a multitude of reasons. And I can walk out with that job. Because it's all about mindset. So I say first and foremost, to love yourself. So as I mentioned, the first reason I love myself is my upbringing. But many of you may not know that I come from a rather large family. I have two brothers who are also deaf, along with my parents, my grandparents, and yes, even my great-grandparents as well. I'm the fourth generation in a beautiful family with over 25 deaf members. Born to deaf parents who understood the deaf experience, they knew exactly how to raise me. They knew how to provide me with the best opportunities and to support me. From day one of my existence, my parents gave me language, access to education, and love. Growing up, my life was perfect. Imagine, like many of you, born to hearing parents, I never noticed barriers that simply weren't there. I'm sure many of you felt your life was normal, the same way that I did. Coming from a deaf family, my world, in every way, was a utopia.